So I'm now going to cover off each of the different tiers of hybrid working maturity. So if we look at the top half of the model, first up we have Reactive Adapter. Now what this is all about is, as you would likely know, the pandemic forced many businesses to essentially just rapidly deploy solutions like Microsoft 365 and Teams to facilitate remote working. You didn't really have any time to be strategic. You either had to adapt, have your employees work from home, or you get left behind and you're not able to do business. So what does the typical Reactive Adapter have going for them? Well, essentially, you would have deployed some basic or rapid deployments of Microsoft 365 solutions. So like we mentioned, Teams, SharePoint, and maybe some lightweight security configurations. Now, under normal circumstances, even if you were to do kind of a lightweight deployment, you would have essentially had done some training or change management. You'd have been more thorough in your understanding of your users' needs, had a bit more time to research which license type might be best suited to your business, or extra configurations, solutions like Teams Voice for your calling that you may have considered. But because of the pandemic, generally you would have probably just deployed some generic Microsoft 365 deployment, which is possibly not the best option for your business. It's also worth mentioning that within this Reactive Adapter phase, it's not something you should feel ashamed about if you find yourself here. Having had the foresight at the start of the pandemic to have actually taken on a solution like Microsoft 365 is a feat in itself. And having that as your foundation has now opened the door to various other security, productivity, and collaboration innovations that are available within the Microsoft 365 stack, which otherwise would not have been if you hadn't deployed Microsoft 365. So moving on to strategic adopters. So now we're taking a step on from reactive adopters, and when looking at the strategic adopter tier, these are essentially the businesses who've taken the time to reassess their Microsoft 365 environment. They've asked themselves the question of, is my license type the right license for my business? Are the solutions that I've deployed allowing my teams or the different business functions to work as productively as possible? They thought about the individual use cases within each of the functions of the business and thought about how they could potentially improve productivity. So they would have likely started to invest in a couple of different Microsoft 365 technologies. The example I've used a couple of times now is Teams calling, but they've also trained their staff on how to use these solutions very, very well, something which they may not have been able to do during the pandemic. So some of the different solutions we have over in this tier. So first up, as I've mentioned, Microsoft 365 license review. They've done some end user training. We're looking at things like calling for Teams, meeting room modernization, have a couple of data management policies, maybe built up some SharePoint libraries and just structured their data a bit better. They've developed some hybrid working and bring your own device policies and taken on extra security tools like secure score monitoring and perhaps even deployed managed services. So strategic adopters, in summation, are essentially businesses who've taken on most of the baseline Microsoft 365 solutions. And while these may be somewhat generic solutions, they use them very, very well, and their staff understand how to use the solutions to their maximum possible potential. Moving on to the final tier of the maturity model, we have thriving adopters. So a good way to look at this is strategic adopters are essentially, that's the baseline, right? That's the minimum you want to aim for to be able to work effectively in the hybrid world. But thriving adopter is kind of taking a step beyond that. So moving away from just looking at the Microsoft 365 stack, but looking at the business as a whole and analyzing it from a functional perspective. So looking at, for example, HR or marketing or finance, and mapping out the various processes that exist within those functions and thinking of ways that you're able to improve inefficiencies within those processes using tools like Power Apps and Power Automate or whatever it may be. So again, these are those organizations who are very future focused, very innovative, and kind of at the forefront of just improving productivity and collaboration, security, and all that. So just covering off the description over here. So thriving adopters, they understand how to leverage their Microsoft 365 licenses to maximize productivity, collaboration, employee well-being, and security. They're constantly thinking of new ways to innovate and improve processes, and their employees are confident in using all the Microsoft 365 tools at their disposal. They've secured their Microsoft 365 environment and continuously review their security posture. So within Thriving Adopters, some of the solutions that are very typical to this tier of maturity, we have things like Windows 365, a very powerful tool in Microsoft's latest innovation for hybrid working. We have advanced data management, things like low-code Power App solutions. We have Microsoft Viva for employee wellness and allowing employees to kind of meditate and having managers look at the overall wellness of their team. We have things like SharePoint intranets. So again, breaking down on a functional level, maybe HR has their own library of resources and way of collaborating within SharePoint and storing documents and files. Maybe finance has one and marketing has one, and so on and so forth. And then finally, we have Zero Trust Security, which again is that kind of ultimate security framework that takes a lot of work to develop and maintain. So again, Thriving Adopters, that kind of ultimate tier of innovation and just looking beyond the Microsoft 365 stack and continuously just developing and improving processes and efficiencies. Thank you for making to the end of this video series. To just wrap things up, I just wanted to kind of recap on the context of the model to just remind you of how to use this. Again, this is not your Bible for hybrid working. It's not meant to be the is-all and end-all, but it is here to just give you a bit of context and understanding of some of the tools that you're able to use to work more effectively when hybrid working. So if you were to think of this model as, or if you were to think of hybrid working as your end goal, using this model, your maturity is your measure of success. Optimizing your Microsoft environment is how you improve or how you move up in maturity. And finally, the specific innovation milestones we covered off, those are the ways that you innovate within your Microsoft 365 environment, which ultimately help you improve in maturity and help you work more effectively. But that's it for this video series. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us via the contact form. We're very nice. We're not going to be mean. I believe the contact form is up here or there on the page. Otherwise, my name has been Bjorn Bjerkes. Thank you for watching this Cloud Direct Learning Hub video. Until next time, bye-bye.